We often ask the government, what can you do for us? But we barely ask ourselves, who am I and what role do I play in shaping my future and the nation? Hello and welcome to Discourse on Global Television. Today we're going to touch we're touching on a provoking conversation that connects with our personality and also with national development. Our topic today is titled Self-Discovery and National Duty. We're talking about discovery as an engine of nation building. We'll be exploring how citizens, how we can understand ourselves, we can understand our skills, our passion, our values, and make more meaningful contributions to the nation's growth. To help us unpack this conversation, I have with me a guest, a very special guest. He is a career developer. He's an entrepreneurial strategist, and you'll get to meet him just after this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Before we went on that break, I told you I am joined in the studio with a career developer and entrepreneurial strategist. He has worked extensively with youths in things like projects like youth empowerment, leadership, and all of that. With me in the studio is Engineer Prince Emenike. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Priska. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you here, and I am excited because I know you're going to do justice to the conversation today. So we're talking about self-discovery, nation building, and how we can know ourselves, how we can contribute to national development, especially by, of course, the foundation is by knowing oneself. And let's start with this very question. When we talk about self-discovery, what does it really mean? A lot of people hear the word self-discovery, and some persons do not even know the practicality of self-discovery, what it actually means. So, what does it mean?
Okay, I want to start by saying that God created the heavens and earth on a purpose.
Okay.
And because every human being He created, He saw a need and created that personality, whether you are a believer, whether you are a non-believer. So everything we need in life is trapped already inside individuals, human beings that God created. So self-discovery is talking about finding out the solution, the answer that God put in you and brought you into this earth realm, to be of benefit to mankind, to the society, to your family, to yourself.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So how can I find all of that out? I know someone may be asking, because honestly, when we hear these things, it usually sounds vague. It is not broken down to, to the barest minimum for me to pick it up and run with it and begin to practically use it. And so I want to enlighten people out there, especially young minds. How can I find myself?
Okay, I I think the journey of self-discovery is the first assignment of every human being on earth. In fact, you're not permitted to do any capital thing on earth until you find yourself. Yes, and it has to do with self-mining. Okay, now there are three aspects. I'm going to narrow it in three aspects. There are aspects you need to do as an individual. There is an aspect upbringing should do. There is an aspect the government will do, but the primary, the sole responsibility of self-discovery goes back to the individuals. Okay, so when you know yourself, you start a journey. Okay, so how do I find myself talking about young people? How do I know who I am? Okay, now it has to do with you looking inward, paying attention to yourself. One of the things I've discovered in life, in my journey as in my journey with young people, is that I've discovered that most times we don't pay attention to ourselves. If you call a young person here now, whether he has formal education or not, you discover they can tell you so many details about, maybe if he's a football fan, he will tell you the details about Messi, tell you what he earns, where he's from, the club that signs him, and all those details, favorite colors. But if you call this same individual and said, okay, tell me about yourself, you discover that in this society we don't pay attention to ourselves, probably because there is this mindset to have that government have to do so much for us, and that has left us with abandoning ourselves and looking at the society. Some are looking at families, some are looking at communities, some are looking at even in the workplace. Yes, even at the workplace, because when you find yourself in the workplace, you are hired because of a certain value that you have. Now, in the journey of self-discovery, you need to increase in the value you bring in the organization where you are. So it goes down to looking inward, asking questions, and there are parts to it. There are some you ask your parents, okay, because all of us are continuation of a story. Yes, there are some you ask your parents. There are some, then religion also has a role to play, because the first outing of every young person is the religious organization, whether it's church or mosque or anywhere, right? So the first impact comes from there. So religious leaders have also a role to play. Now, before you start talking of education, when I bring in education, then the formal and the informal, because education, the informal aspect of education, the parents have a role to play. Then in the formal education, the education system has a role to play. Even in the entrepreneurial sector, maybe somebody's an apprentice, okay, the master who is there as the mentor, okay, has a role to play. So it's a holistic thing, but the first person in that whole journey is me. It's me.
Interesting. So you mentioned different aspects or different personalities or different sectors. I don't know how to group it though, but you mentioned educational sector being part of one's journey to self-discovery, and under the educational sector, informal education, right? Formal education. And then religious bodies, you know, your pastors, your imams and all of that. And then traditionally, of course, we have traditional leaders and all of that. But in all of this, looking at Nigeria holistically now and where we are as youths, what do you think, or which body, where do you think we are missing it? Is it that we're missing it in the educational sector? Because we have a lot of graduates. They come out of school, but they do not even know where to start. They don't even know how to solve problems. They don't know how to think critically. I believe that the difference between an educated person and an uneducated person is your ability to solve problems, your ability to think critically. But then we have graduates that are lacking in these aspects of their life. So who do we blame, or where did we get it wrong? Where are we getting it wrong? Are we overly focused on formal education and leaving informal education out? Are we having problems in the religious space? Do we have pastors and imams are not telling us the right things? Do we have traditional rulers, for those that are inclined towards the traditional setting? Are they not doing the job properly? Where is the problem? In the family setting, like you mentioned, we have nonchalant parents? Do we have parents that are really living up to the responsibilities of parenting and all of that?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Priska. I don't want to do a blame game.
Okay.
But anytime you want to solve a problem, you look at the root cause of the problem.
Yes.
I think one of the challenge we have as a nation, of course, we know that we have leadership problems. Yes. Because all of us came from the smallest unit of the society, that is the home. Okay. Now, having said that, because you're asking me where is this whole thing coming from? Yeah. There is a problem with our ideology as a nation, as a people. Okay. When we talk about problem solving. Okay. Nigeria and Africa in the time past, of course, we are improving, but the pace is very slow. Okay. We supposed to be a problem solving people. Okay. Even from the leadership. Okay. As a parent, you know that there are certain cultures when you start driving it in your children at the early stage, at the formative stage of those children, it plays a very, very vital role in their life. But if you come to a Nigerian issue, you discover that because of the leadership challenge you have, we don't focus on the needful. Now, why do I say that? If you go back to our education system, I don't want to bring the Western world into it, so that yes, it don't be like we're doing a blame game.
Because I feel like before Western education came, we had more problem solvers. Yeah. We had our traditional, hunters. We had people that go to the farm to hunt. No. So is it Western education that is causing it? Is it making us certificate focused and leaving out the core of education, which is critical thinking and problem solving?
That is why I must bring in the Western world. Okay. Because what happened is because of the ideology of our colonial masters, we borrowed everything. In school those days, there's something they say, don't copy and copy reg number. There are people who copy and copy. So I think Nigeria as a nation, we copied and copied reg number. Because when you go back, those in the days of our forefathers, you discover that they understand this problem solving. Yes. In a community, they know that, our basic challenge here is food. So you see people
being creative.
Yes. They have farmlands, they do preservation, and all that. Even the issue of security. Yes. Okay. These are the things that are provided within the society. Now, the moment we opened ourselves to the Western culture, they brought in their strategy of education. And I want to tell you precisely that pattern of education is aimed at, they are intentional about it. That is where we find ourselves today. So what we find in our society today, they are intentional about it because the Western culture came to destroy our personality, to now impose on us
their pattern of doing things, pattern of life.
Do you understand? So when you look at our curriculum in school, just like you said, it's certificate based. Yes. I remember in those days they tell you, go to school, get to, and the moment you come, you start looking, that kind of
job mentality.
And let me tell you, do you know that 60, 65, 70% of graduates we have today went to school and studied a course that has nothing to do with them? And that's where the root of that problem is. Okay. The young apprentices you see here and there just look for an available thing. What will I learn? Mechanic or fixing of phone, ideas and that and that. There was no platform for self-discovery. How am I wired? Who am I? What am I supposed to do? Because this personality self is talking about, there's an inherent energy in every human being.
Absolutely.
And the moment you invest in that energy, that is how society is being built. Do you understand? Yes. Just like in the Western world. Okay, let me use the automobile sector for instance. You discover that there are cars we buy in Nigeria here, they say it's American spec. Why do they call it American spec?
It was designed for the American roads.
It was designed for the American roads, weather today. Yes. You see many of us driving on the road, you see our headlamps on. Why is it on? Because it's not meant for. It's a borrowed technology. So it has a way that we delve into something we didn't understand, and the people intentionally brought it because they want to destroy our uniqueness.
Okay. And maybe they are looking for They're looking for employable people. They're looking for people that can serve them.
Okay.
People that will be, that can be of use to their own system. And they feel, okay, let me bring this thing to the people. Well, their intentions might not be totally bad, but I think it was the problem of our leaders to now sieve whatever help that was coming in. Okay, this one is good, we would use this part of it, we'll dump this part of it. But the whole mentality, the black man mentality of feeling inferior, we feel like our things are not good enough, they're not charging enough, we just feel this inferiority. I feel like we want, this one is better.
Okay, this one
totally replace whatever it is that we had.
Sold our uniqueness.
Yes, we sold our uniqueness. We threw it away. We did not know the value of it. And these are the same people that, depended on us for a lot of things. We did not see, our importance because we felt we are blacks. These guys are the whites. And, it has been like that. So, now where do we go from here? Do you think we are amending our ways in any way? Do you think we have realized it? I'm talking at the government level now, because somehow it is up to them. We can only do our best, right? But they are the policy makers. They're the ones that determine the policy that stays. So do you think they have realized? Is there any form of realization right now going in the system, or are we still where we are? And how do we go from here?
Okay, we are not where we are. Just that the pace is very slow, okay? Because the world is growing every day. Every 5 years, a new world is born. And your ability to fraternize with the new world is what gives you an edge in the competitive market. So I believe the problem still lies with our leaders, because when policies are made to favor personal development, it should be clear. And let me give you an instance. I've watched Olympic Games before. I discovered that in Olympic Games, you discover that whether you are physically challenged in one way or the other, there is always a game you are meant to play. Nobody is left out. Whatever it is. Do you understand? You see that culture. So I don't come tomorrow and say, oh, I'm visually impaired, or I'm this, or I'm that. They created a policy that made everybody to have that sense of value. And it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what your challenges are, you must contribute to the nation's building. But you see it now. Now, the kind of education we have is the basic challenge we have in our society, because we embraced the formal education and almost abandoned the informal education. And
it is not valuable.
Yes, and it's the informal education that gave birth, because the first education you have access to is that informal education. It forms the background. Okay, currently something happened. You know how schools used to do this, their summer classes and all that. And I called my spouse, I said, no, my children will not go for this summer school. They need to learn a skill. They need to learn a skill, because it's not about certificate, it's about certificate. And it's not even about certificate, it's about unlocking what is inside of you. Please, let me ask you, if you rent an apartment now, how do you know where you put your television? How do you know where to keep your television?
Well, I think the house has been designed, or your houses are usually designed with structures, skeletal structures, to know
that. So
you see it's the wall socket for television, and you see. So
Okay, so that is it. So the moment you enter into your apartment, you discover that nobody tells you that, oh, this is where
the television.
Now that is how human lives are designed. Before we came into the air, there are inherent abilities. Do you know at times you might say, oh, I don't want my television to be here, I want to put it here. It doesn't matter how much you want to change the position, it can be like the original idea. Original idea. So going back to what you said, our leaders didn't censor what they bring in.
They totally replaced.
They totally replaced. I was privileged to travel to several countries, maybe China precisely. I discovered that in China they don't use WhatsApp. No, they don't. They don't use Facebook. What they do is WeChat.
Okay.
And they were intentional about it because they don't want that Western influence. And when you see how strong their culture is, their work ethics, I discovered that Chinese youths are not sexually active.
Yeah.
No, they are not sexually active because they are work oriented. That's how they are wired. Okay, I was privileged to hang out, go to their clubs, and I discovered that they are just doing it for doing sake. There is this, they don't throw their energy in it. It's not, the government doesn't promote, just like in our world here, entertainment, we promote it so well. So going back to what you said, we are connecting back to it, but the pace is slow. Let me say this. Do you know that in the 90s, we discovered that in the entertainment industry, it's just about the Western world. Celine Dion, all of those, do you understand? Cisco and the rest of them, Westlife and the rest of them. But all of a sudden, something happened.
Yeah, I think there's a major shift in the entertainment industry. And Nigeria is taking over the world.
You see how we have taken over within a space of a decade or two.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, but in those days, you know, so something is happening already. But it's just that one, we need to be holistic. Then two, we need to be intentional about the pace.
Yeah, I think it's basically in the entertainment world that Nigeria is thriving. Every other aspect, now educational aspect, we are still struggling. Now I kind of feel like if we date back, if we look back into how education came in, for some of us that had our parents impose education strongly, it was not like it was a bad thing. It was because of what they had seen. There was a season that it favored a lot of their friends, their peers, because then you go to school free. When you come out, you know, there's a nice job waiting for you. But times have changed, and some of our parents did not understand that there is a shift. You know, the whole they were not sensitive to the seasonal change, you know, that came, and they still enforced education as strongly as, you know, they felt like their peers benefited from it. And times had changed. Right now, you will come out of school, there are no jobs. Of course, it's not news that, you know, there are no jobs. Times have changed. So those of nowadays are understanding the reality. Some do, and I think these are the individuals that are clamoring for the change. They are pushing for that change. They are introducing their children to skills and all of that. I don't think it's a government thing right now. I think if the government would even join hands, they are trying. Recently, the educational, you know, sector experienced a reform, introducing courses like coding, robotics, and all of that. But sometimes these are just on paper. You get? They're just on paper. How many teachers have you provided in the system maybe to do all these things? We want it, we imagine it, we like the idea of it.
How do you drive it?
But driving it is
something that's practicable or
exactly, usually the problem. I would say we want national development, we want our nation to grow and all of that. Well, I really don't know. How do we go from here? Again, we keep asking.
Okay, I think what will happen, just like what you're doing today. Okay, I am the executive director of Suchmark Foundation, and it is a youth foundation that focuses on youth and career development. Now, I know that there is need for a collaboration, okay, just like what you're doing today, creating that awareness, not just stopping at awareness, but driving it, okay, having town hall meetings, making every person, young parents, to know that this is where we find ourselves. Because, listen, there is always a zing in every young person and energy. If that energy is not channeled into the right thing, it must find expression in the negative. And that's how we find ourselves in all manner of vices. In those days, yes, I know that our parents are not, should I say, I don't want to say covetous, they are not materialistic, but there is this energy in them, because there's something about this energy in a man. When that energy finds expression in a purpose, okay, in the right thing, you put the whole of that energy in it. But when it happens the other way around, that energy must find expression. Education is about development. Okay, there is no way you develop in the wrong thing and get it right. Imagine you have the structure called a building. There is a plan. So whoever that is coming to build must stick to
the plan.
the moment you leave the plan, and it doesn't matter how glorious the edifice is, something will happen one day, because the structure must stand the test of time.
Yes.
So the evil we find in our society today is that a young person takes the virgin ability, I call it the virgin ability, that first 4 years, okay, and program yourself with something that has nothing to do with you. So you come out of school, the only thing you grab was the exposure and this and okay. Why is it that so many people today who are wealthy, even in Nigeria today, then they don't go to school? So how did it happen?
It now looks like education is now a limitation.
You see people saying education is a scam.
No, it's not a scam. It's basically because people do not, like you have mentioned, they do not go to school
for the right reasons,
and also according to their abilities, right? Because if I, for example, now I am a fashion designer, and another thing I would want to say before I go to that, we don't have varieties of courses that aligns with personalities in this country. Our courses in universities are limited.
They are limited and they are orchestrated. They are not personalized.
Exactly.
Just like what I told you about Olympic Games.
They are not personalized. So you just see engineering.
You know that kind of.
You see courses like, of course,
mass communication. And they are just like that. It's not. I studied in engineering, and by the time I want to further, I discovered that
we don't have options in this country.
We don't have options.
We don't have so much options.
We don't have so much options.
I'm currently doing a master's in guidance and counseling, and if I compare it to other climes, you see courses like career counseling, you see all those other. But here it's just holistic. You go there, in short, you are not even given the opportunity to learn other aspects of it. It's just streamlined, and it is not exposing. Do you get? So sometimes I would sit and I'm like, okay, was not better I pick one online master's course and just focus a particular aspect, a niche, and
because that niche is your person.
Exactly, but we don't have so much of that in our curriculum, and it's a problem. It's a big problem. Anyways, with what we have already, I believe that there's so much we can do with whatever it is that we have existing. Right?
Sure.
So it's important to educate, or to, like you say, to be able to sensitize people out there to get the best of the opportunities they have. Now, when we talk about national development, as a citizen, in this country, let's take it down to the curriculum. How many students can sing the national anthem? the current national anthem. There are people who are not patriotic in this part of the world, and it's a problem. We are not patriotic. We are not patriotic, and I think it starts from there, because this nation is our own. Travel around the world, we have people in other climes using the whole Japa thing, going out, and you see them still complaining. There's no place like home. It's not it's not cliche. It's reality. There is no place like home.
Because God saw our uniqueness and put us in a community.
Exactly. And
we will always be the best in that community.
Exactly. So I want us to go away from the complaints. Yeah, we'll try to get it. We will definitely get it. But even what we have already existing, we're not even maximizing it. And then I want to ask, how can I connect myself, knowing myself, how can I connect it to my role as a citizen? I don't know if you get that. What is my role? What is my role as a citizen of Nigeria? What is my responsibility? It is not just about my life, getting rich, making money, getting married, having kids, spoiling them, living large. What is my responsibility as a citizen of Nigeria?
I'm going back to something you mentioned. National Orientation Agency is doing a lot of work. We are not going to leave it for them, and they need to do more. There is a country I know, St. Kitts and Nevis, is in North America. Their tagline as a nation is "Country above self." Country above self. So they believe that whatever you are doing, you put your country first. And if you look at the US, for instance, you always see them say, "God bless America," is America first. So, but I didn't know how it happens to us that we always see Nigeria as it belongs to some people,
and power,
and not us. So there is not, how do I put it? We don't have this sense of responsibility. And Priska, I must tell you the truth. That is why we young people must come into politics with a positive mindset. Because do you know how much it takes for an average parent who is in my village to take their child, maybe 2-3, to the university, hoping that, okay, years after they left school, excuse me, that they will be able to find greener pasture and all that. And then after many years, the whole of that hope is dashed to the wall. So there's a lot of discouragement. And it's this discouragement that's made the youth today. Look at what happens in politics. The moment politics, time for politicking comes, nobody is looking at Nigeria. We're looking at what can I. So what I'm putting there is that if we can put Nigeria first, knowing that whether I'm a politician, whether I'm an educationist, whoever I am, okay, this is my country. This is where my children's future are tied. It doesn't matter how long you send them abroad and how many years they stay there. So we need to start with this culture of thinking Nigeria. Is in that, from that, now we begin to look inward and said, okay, what will I bring in? Now look at what is happening in social media space. Okay, the media space. You discover that a lot of people who have discovered themselves have been able to engage thousands. And that's what we are looking for. So there is need, both religious bodies, communities, okay, government, organizations, families, going back to instill in the life of every Nigerian and the youth to know that this is our fatherland. If we didn't get it right, all of us will pay for it. See what happens today. Insecurity everywhere. For you to move from one point to the other. Okay? It was not so before. What happened? When we didn't personalize it and you see somebody on the street, you don't even care. Now that person turns to be something negative tomorrow and become harmful to you and to the person himself and the environment and the community. So it's high time we begin to prioritize Nigeria. It doesn't matter what has happened in the time past, because what happened, I must tell you the truth, people have lost hope in this nation. You know, a lot of things that has happened, but let me tell you the truth. It doesn't matter how much you don't like your home where you grew up from. You know, in those days there are places you remember those days when you grew up, you go to some houses, you see that black and white television and you want to stay there all day. It doesn't matter how much you stay there, by the time it's evening you go home. So if you have that consciousness that you have a home, if you have that consciousness that you have a home, and that home is where you belong, you must do something about that. So we need to go back and know that Nigeria is our own and we don't have an option. It doesn't matter how much we patronize the Western world. It doesn't matter how much we get all the degrees abroad and live there and work forever and all that and all that. We must, because one question you ask yourself, why is it that these foreigners are very much interested here? Do you know the strength we have here?
Exactly.
We'll have all the markets here. We'll have all the human capacity, resources here. All of these things are here because if we are what we take ourselves to be, why are these people coming? What are they looking for? What are they looking for? So we need to begin to drive that and begin to instill hope.
Yes.
Because it's a kind of a hopelessness that is bringing us to that point to say that,
exactly.
You see what's going now, Japa, look at what is happening. If you go to any embassy now, you see how they treat Nigerians as if they are nobody.
Yes.
You know, so
do you think there's a relationship between should I say, why use the word prospering and value for this? I call it patriotism.
Okay, if there is
a relationship between prosperity and patriotism.
Okay, let me go back to this same thing I'm saying because it's very important to me. Number one is that you can't finish with value. Okay, you can't finish with value. In fact, one of the greatest gifts that God gave every human being is that value in a crude form. That is what we're talking about. Self. Yes. So that when you begin to refine it and refine it and refine it. Now, when you talk about value and patriotism, you will understand that when somebody comes in a system and believe in the system he find himself or herself, okay, your priority should be, how do I develop? I know a lot of Nigerians who has been abroad and decide to come back here and invest. Okay, now if we have this consciousness that this country is our own and is our home, okay, the issue of patriotism is to come in, because that patriotism is what will build the nation we are looking for. That patriotism will build the nation we are looking for. Some of us who did traffic lights in Abuja here, in Nigeria here, will go to the Western world.
And we obey it.
Yes, we will obey it. When we go out there, you see that orderliness, because it's the orientation, that patriotism is the orientation in that society. And I want to tell you, when you want to destroy any organization, all you need to do, you don't even need devil. Just bring lawless people and put in that environment. I know some of us, I remember in those days they say, I forgot who launched that, war against indiscipline.
Yes. Was it Abacha?
Yeah, war against indiscipline. You know, and you see a lot of things it entails. You need to be at workplace early enough. When you eat, you don't dispose refuse on the road and all that. These are the things we need to go back to, because without this patriotism, okay, this our younger generation that is coming up will not know, because this is a nation where history is not taught. Yes, our younger generation will not know that there was a time this nation is not like this. Just like what you are saying, that our parents go to school, then they were given food, their jobs were provided for them.
They were paid for going to school.
They were paid for going to school. The moment they are coming out, they have jobs and all that. So it's that spirit of patriotism that will bet this. And let me also say this, because if you see what is happening in the education sector space, you discover that, imagine your child going to a school where the teacher there is underpaid.
So I heard that if you pay a school fees of 500,000 and your child's teacher is receiving a salary of 20k, your child is receiving a 20k education. I mean, 500,000.
Because I know somebody who is depressed and impact their life.
At all. So that's all we need to investigate and make sure the school fees I'm paying, is it translating into something new for that child, for that teacher?
Because that teacher is the person that impacts.
Yes, he's the one that impacts the knowledge.
Your child.
Yes.
So it's very, very necessary. That patriotic lifestyle is what we need in every space. Okay, imagine what you're saying. A school fees of 500,000, the teacher received only
50k.
You know, that kind of a thing. And you as a parent will go out there and say, I'm paying. At the end of the day, the child now comes out. Meanwhile, the quality of attention and knowledge you received was just for. And the whole thing goes back to the society.
Anyways, let's just go for a quick break. When we return, Discourse continues. Please stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. This is Discourse on Global Television, and we are still with Engineer Prince Emenike in the studio. We're talking about nation building and purposeful living. Yeah. So let's connect the dots.
Okay.
How does one's personal journey of self-discovery translate into nation building?
All right. Like I told you earlier, God saw a need and created every human being. In fact, there's something I discovered recently, that in our society, any aspect of the society that you see that is experiencing setback, somebody actually failed his assignment. Okay, so imagine we are in a tech world. Imagine Steve Jobs failed in bringing an Apple. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yes. Imagine those who brought Android failed. So you can't separate nation building from personal discovery and development. Because going back to the family that is the smallest unit of the society, imagine you have children who are always there waiting for you to do everything for them. Okay, some parents go on and bring house help, and this house help is doing everything, and at the end of the day, you know what it translates to.
Yeah, you've successfully trained your house.
Your children.
Yeah.
So when you talk about nation building, that is why we need to understand that if Nigeria is our own and is our own and is the only home that we'll have, we must drive that mandate of nations building.
Okay, so there's this saying that leadership is, I believe, let me leave the saying, I believe that leadership is a thing of responsibility. Is it possible in any way that citizens become, the real leaders are the responsible ones?
Yes.
Leadership is, there are positions that are just title.
But
the real leadership is the responsible one. Is there a situation at all, is it possible to have responsible citizens that, decides to ignore the irresponsibilities of leaders, and, at the end of the day, is it possible to impact or improve the nation?
Oh, okay. It's a two-way thing.
Okay.
Because there must be a level playing ground.
Okay.
And I believe at this point, just like you said, we won't be waiting for the government. Okay, there is something we can do on our own, and we can't remove entirely what the government needs to do. Okay, because that level playing ground is what boosts whatever area of self-development and the economy we are looking at.
Recently, we've seen social media, give a sense of responsibilities to our leaders. We have activists now come online, to call them out or even to do the right thing. Yeah. Recently, I think I saw there's this activist VDM on social media. Take up cases of individuals in their states, and we now see the government responding, maybe bringing funds and all of that. I know that this is not and everybody's assignment. Not everyone can do this, but I want us to see the possibilities of being responsible citizens. Is there not a way that it can even trigger or even compel these leaders, can change them? Because I don't want us to go on a mission impossible. Yeah. So is there such a thing?
Yeah, there is, because I've said that and I'm going to repeat it again. As citizens of Nigeria, we need to be doing our own part. Okay, we need to be doing our own part. In our foundation, there is a program we recently launched, and that program is talking about bringing young people out from the streets and seeing how you empower them. Because it can be an individual thing. You can choose to bring young people and mentor them. Okay, you can go to communities, whether it's workplace community, whether it's religious community, and be doing our own part. It doesn't matter how insignificant it looks, but it has a lot of strength. So we can, on our own, do it. And just like you cited, there are a lot of people who are doing it already. So we need to do it together. Because if you have a father that is not as responsible as he should be,
you fold your hands.
You don't fold your hands. You don't fold your hands. You need to do the needful.
Yes.
You need to, and we have all it takes. will have all it takes. Nigerians are talented people.
Absolutely.
Nigerians are talented people. So there is need for us to begin to launch that campaign, and not just campaign, because I believe in what we can do. Okay, sometimes advocacy is fine, but while you are doing the advocacy, make sure there is something you are doing that everybody will be able to. There must be a part, a role. I, as an individual, need to play. My organization need to play. The religious community needs to play. So let's leave the government. Maybe we are the people to draw attention of the government. But when we are folding our hands, and just like elections, we understand that when you fold your hands during elections, you make the work of
riggers
to be easy for them.
Yes.
So when we start speaking up, when we start doing the right thing, maybe the government will okay, we can actually do this, because that some of these things have limitations. Okay, there's a limitation to what you can do as an individual. But when you create the atmosphere, a lot of interest group will come and join forces with what you are doing, and it can be the trigger to the change.
Okay, so many youths chase money in today's world. They're after money, they want to hammer, quick money, and sometimes they do clearly without a sense of purpose. I was discussing with someone recently, I think just some hours back, and he said, village people are making this more than city people. Because then, just the context of if you go village now, if you don't get money, like they feed you, and how you would be scared of going to the village from the city. Yeah. Right now it's the reverse. You have village people now into Yahoo Plus, and they're doing better. They're doing better than city people. Well, the drive right now for every Nigerian youth, majority, let me not say every, but money is a drive. We want to make it quick. You get, how can we redirect this energy to purposeful living and purposeful earning?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. This is a very, very sensitive issue. I'm going to look at it from two angles. Let me borrow from the Western world. When you go to the Western world, where the basic things are provided, okay, so you have a house to lay your head, you have food to eat. If your children want to go to school, or you want to go to school, if you need access to basic primary health care, you will get that. You discover that this issue of individual pursuit is reduced to the barest minimum. But we come from an environment where practically nothing is provided. But that's by the way. Okay, that's by the way. What is happening in our society today goes back to our values. The values we are driving as a nation. Okay, those values are very, very, because we are driving these values about money, and it isn't that all the thing. Nobody is talking about impact again. And let me tell you, there is no way you make impact and money will not come. There is no way you solve a problem and money will not come. But the way we are going about it is the other way around.
Okay, so money comes from being valuable. Ultimately, that's what we're saying. There's no need to rush. There's no need to do wrongs. As long as you make yourself valuable, money is guaranteed for you. I think this is how far we can go in the conversation today. Thank you so much, Engineer Prince, for being with us today. It has been such an insightful conversation. I'm sure our viewers have been enlightened. Today's conversation reminds us that nation building doesn't start in the government's offices. It begins with all of us as individuals. When we discover who we are, we discover how best we can serve and how best we can live. This has been Discourse, and I am your host, Priscilla Obasi. Until next time, remember that self-discovery is not just a personal journey, it is a national duty. We would say bye for now.